His Excellency David Hurley, Governor General of Australia, and First Lady Linda Hurley, Their Excellencies, Special Envoys, and Heads of Delegations, His Excellency, Most Reverend Charles John Brown, and the esteemed members of the Diplomatic Corps, Vice President Sara Duterte, President Fidel Ramos, President Joseph Ejercito Estrada, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Senate President Vicente Soto III, and the honorable members of the Philippine Senate, House Speaker Lord Alan J. Velasco, and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo, and the honorable justices of the Supreme Court, of course, First Lady Lisa Araneta, and my children, Alexander, Sandro, Simon, and Vincent. I cannot proceed without a special greeting, of course, to the former First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos.
Imelda Marcos.
Other distinguished guests,
Matanda na si Imelda,
ladies and
pero ang
gentlemen,
ganda-ganda pa rin.
my friends,
Hello pong Shelly,
ang
shout
aking
out.
minamahal
Thank
na
you.
mga kababayan, magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat.
Marami na ako ipi-play sa iyo pong
This
Shelly.
is a historic
Mamaya,
moment for us all.
patulog ako pagkatapos ko
I
nito.
feel it deep within me. You, the people, have spoken, and it is resounding. When my call for unity started to resonate with you, it did so because it echoed your yearnings, mirrored your sentiments, and expressed your hopes for family, for country, and for a better future. That is why it reverberated and amplified as it did, to deliver the biggest electoral mandate in the history of Philippine democracy. By your vote, you rejected the politics of division. I offended none of my rivals in this campaign. I listened instead to what they were saying. And I saw little incompatibility with my own ideas about jobs, fair wages, personal safety, and national strength, and ending want in a land of plenty. I believe that if we but focus on the work at hand and the work that will come to hand, we will go very far under my watch. You believe that too. At pinakinggan ko ang tinig ninyo na ang sinisigaw ay pagkakaisa, pagkakaisa, pagkakaisa. We will go farther together than against each other, pushing forward, not pulling each other back, out of fear, out of a misplaced sense of weakness. But we are the furthest from weak. The Filipino diaspora flourishes even in the most inhospitable climes, where they are valued for their quality. The changes we seek will benefit all and will shortchange no one. I was not the instrument of change. You were that. You made it happen. I am now. You picked me to be your servant, to enable changes to benefit all. I fully understand the gravity of the responsibility that you've put on my shoulders. I do not take it lightly, but I am ready for the task. I will need your help. I want to rely on it. But rest assured, I do not predicate success on the wide cooperation that's needed. I will get it done. I once knew a man who saw what little had been achieved since independence. in a land of people with the greatest potential for achievement, and yet they were poor. But he got it done, sometimes with the needed support, sometimes without. So will it be with his son. You will get no excuses from me. I am here not to talk about the past. I am here to tell you about our future. A future of sufficiency, even plenty, of readily available ways and means to get done what needs doing by you, by me. We do not look back, but ahead, up the road that we must take to a place better than the one we lost in the pandemic. Gains made and lost, opportunities missed, well laid plans superseded by the pandemic. Indeed, ours was the fastest growing economy in ASEAN by ways now outdated. We shall be again by a radical change in the way the world must now work to recover what we have lost in that fire and move on from there. We, we face prospects of the spread of the war abroad, of which we are totally blameless. We seek friendship with all, but our countries like ours will bear the brunt of it. And if the great powers draw the wrong lessons from the ongoing tragedy in Ukraine, the same dark prospect of conflict will spread to our part of the world. Yet, there is more out there. Like going forward by new ways of doing that the pandemic forces to adopt a stronger resilience, quicker adaptability. They are our best prevention. They are our best protection. Quiet reflection in a rough and tumble campaign of a breadth and intensity never experienced revealed some of them, such as a willingness to listen despite the noise, the hesitation to quarrel over differences, and to never, ever give up hope of reconciliation. These gave me the peace to ponder deeper. There are hints of a road not taken that could get us out of here quicker to something better, something less fragile. There is also what you the people did to cope, but this time empowered by new techniques and more resources. You got by, getting some of what you needed with a massive government help. And for this, I thank my predecessor for the courage of his hard decisions. But there is a way to put more means and choices in your hands. I trust the Filipino. Imagine how much more you'd achieve if government backstops instead of dictating your decisions. Always there to pick you up when you fall, giving what you need to get past a problem. Imagine if it invested in your self empowerment to bring it closer to taking on whatever challenges come. Imagine a country that, in almost every sense, is you. Now imagine what you and government can achieve together. We did it in the pandemic. We will do it again. But again, I will not predicate my promise to you on your cooperation. You have your own lives to live, your work to do, and there too I will help. Government will get as much done alone without requiring more from you. That is what government and public officials are for. No excuses, just deliver. It was like that once upon a time. I did not talk much in this campaign. I did not bother to think of rebutting my rivals. Instead, I searched for promising approaches better than the usual solutions. I listened to you. I did not lecture you who has the biggest stake in our success. And the forthcoming State of the Nation will tell you exactly how we shall get this done. In this fresh chapter of our history, I extend my hand to all Filipinos. Come, let us put our shoulders to the wheel and give that wheel a faster turn to repair and to rebuild and to address challenges in new ways to provide what all Filipinos need to be all that we can. We are here to repair a house divided, to make it whole, and to stand strong again in the Bayanihan way, expressive of our nature as Filipinos. We shall seek not scorn dialogue, listen respectfully to contrary views, be open to suggestions coming from hard thinking and unsparing judgment, but always from us, Filipinos. We can trust no one else when it comes to what is best for us. Past history has often proven that. Solutions from outside divided us. None deepened our understanding. They were always at our expense. Never forget, we are Filipinos. One nation, one republic, indivisible. We resisted and never failed to defeat foreign attempts to break up our country in my father's watch. His strongest critics have conceded that. So let us all be part of the solution that we choose. In that lies the power to get it done. Always be open to differing views, but ever united in our chosen goal. Never hesitating to change it, should it prove wanting. That is how agile, resilient republics are made. Our future we decide today. Yesterday cannot make that decision anymore, nor can tomorrow delay it. The sooner we start, the surer and quicker the prospect of achieving our future. These are troubling times. What's happening to others can happen to us, but it will not. We see what's happening. We are witness to how it is being stopped, and we have seen the glory that crowns struggle against all odds. Giving up is not an option. We've been through times of bitter division, but united, we came through to this when it shall begin again, but better. The campaigns I've run have taken me here where I stand today. I listened to you, and this is what I have heard. We all want peace in our land. You and your children want a good chance at a better life in a safer, more prosperous country. All that is within reach of a hard-working, warm, and giving race. Your dreams are mine. Pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko. How can we make them come through? How can we do it together? But I will take it as far as anyone with the same faith and commitment can, as if it depended entirely on himself. Sa pangarap na maging mapayapa ang ating bansa, ang pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko. Sa pangarap na maging maunlad ang ating bansa, ang pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko. At sa pangarap na maging mas masinang ang kinabukasan natin at ng ating mga anak, ang pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko. We are presently drawing up a comprehensive, all-inclusive plan for economic transformation. We will build back better by doing things in the light of the experiences that we have had, both good and bad. It doesn't matter. No looking back in anger or nostalgia. In the road ahead, the immediate months will be rough, but I will walk that road with you. The pandemic ravaged bigger economies than ours. The virus is not the only thing to blame. What had been well built was torn down. we will build it back better. The role of agriculture cries for the urgent attention that its neglect and misdirection now demands. Food self sufficiency has been the key promise of every administration. None but one delivered. There were inherent defects in the old ways and in recent ways too. The trade policy of competitive advantage made the case that when it comes to food sufficiency, a country should not produce but import what other countries make more of and sell cheapest. Then came Ukraine. The most vulnerable when it comes to food are the countries furthest away from the conflict. Those bearing no blame for provoking it. Yet they face the biggest risk of starvation. If financial aid is poured into them, though it never is, there is nothing to buy. Food is not just a trade commodity. Without it, people weaken and die. Societies come apart. It is more than a livelihood. It is an existential imperative and a moral one. An agriculture damaged and diminished by unfair competition will have a harder time or will have no prospects at all of recovering. Food sufficiency must get the preferential treatment the richest free trade countries always gave their agricultural sectors. Their policy boils down to don't do as we do what we tell you to. I am giving that policy the most serious thought if it doesn't change or make more allowances for emergencies with long term effects. There is a parallel problem in our energy supply. Sufficient fossil fuel free technology for whole economies has yet to be invented. And it is not seriously tried by rich countries. Again, consider the response of the richest countries to the war in Ukraine. But surely, a free world awash with oil can assure supplies. Or we will find a way. We are not far from oil and gas reserves that have already been developed. What we teach in our schools, the materials used must be rethought. I am not talking about history. I'm talking about the basics, the sciences, sharpening theoretical aptitude and imparting vocational skills, such as in the German example, alongside the national language with equal emphasis and facility in a global language, which we had and lost. Let us give OFWs all the advantages we can for them to survive and to thrive. Our teachers from elementary up are heroes fighting ignorance with poor paper weapons. We are condemning the future of our race to menial occupations abroad. Then they are exploited by traffickers. Once we had an education system that prepared coming generations for more and better jobs. There is hope for a comeback. Vice President and soon to be Secretary of Education, Sara Duterte Carpio, will fit that mission to a T. We won't be caught unprepared, under-equipped, and understaffed to fight the next pandemic. To start with, we never got over the pandemic of poor, if any, free public health. The last major upgrade of a public health system, exemplified by the resources poured into PGH, predates the current shambles by 3 generations. Our nurses are the best in the world. They acquitted themselves with the highest distinction abroad, having suffered even the highest casualties. With the same exemplary dedication, at home, they just got by. They are out there because we cannot pay them for the same risk and workload that we have back here. There will be changes starting tomorrow. I am confident because I have an OPLE in my cabinet. There were shortcomings in the COVID response. We will fix them out in the open. No more secrets in public health. Remember, I speak from experience. I was among the first to get COVID. It was not a walk in the park. My father built more and better roads, produced more rice than all administrations before his. President Rodrigo Duterte built more and better than all the administrations succeeding my father's. Much has been built, and so well, that the economic dogma of dispersing industry to develop the least likely places has been upturned. Development was brought to them. Investors are now setting up industries along the promising routes built. And yet, the potential of this country is not exhausted. Following these giant steps, we will continue to build. I will complete on schedule the projects that have been started. I am not interested in taking credit. I want to build on success that's already happening. We will be presenting the public with a comprehensive infrastructure plan. 6 years could be just about enough time. No part of our country will be neglected. Progress will be made wherever there are Filipinos, so no investment is wasted. The recovery of Philippine tourism with its emphasis on accessing nature's beauty, I am sure will exceed expectations. And bigger is not always better, but there's something to be said for economies of scale. And yet the country invites investments in fast rising industries with quick returns and inflicts irreparable damage for future generations. We have yet to see large scale practical solutions to pollution, though some are beginning to emerge. But there are tried and proven new ways of mitigation. Blades have been turning over the sand dunes of Ilocos Norte, harnessing power all around, but unseen, long before this day. I built them. The rich world talks a great deal, but does a lot less about it than those with much less, but who suffer more death and destruction from climate change and lack of adaptation. We will look to our partners and friends to help the Philippines, who, despite having a very small carbon footprint, is at the highest risk. First, spare victims, then help them recover, and move on to lessen the harmful impact of climate change. We too have our part to play. We are the third biggest plastics polluter in the world. But we won't shirk from that responsibility. We will clean up. You will not be disappointed, so do not be afraid. With every difficult decision that I must make, I will keep foremost in my heart and in my mind the debt of gratitude I owe you for the honor and responsibility that you have conferred on me. Whatever is in a person to make changes for the better of others, I lay before you now in my commitment. I will try to spare you. You have your other responsibilities to carry. But I will not spare myself from shedding the last bead of sweat or giving the last ounce of courage and sacrifice. And if you ask me why I am so confident of the future, I will answer you simply that I have 110 million reasons to start with. Such is my faith in the Filipino. Believe, have hope. The sun also rises like it did today and as it will tomorrow. And as surely as that, we will achieve the country all Filipinos deserve. God bless the Philippines. God bless our work. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas! Magandang tanghali po.
Please be seated. Welcome to the inaugural ceremony of President-elect Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. To begin, let us now witness and give a big round of applause to the military and civic parade.
Sa makasaysayang araw na ito, ating binibigyang pugay ang bagong Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas, Pangulong Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. Kung kaya't narito po ang isang parada bilang pagpaparangan. Atin na pong tunghayan ng mga tagapangalaga ng bansa, naglilingkod sa iba't ibang larangan, isinasanggalang ang bansa sa anumang pagbabanta. Sila na nagtataglay ng katapangan at kagitingan, patuloy na nakikipaglaban para sa kapayapaan at kalayaan na ating tinatamasa. Bumubungad po ang parada na kinabibilangan ng ating kor ng mga kadete ng Sandatahang Lakas at Pambansang Pulisya ng Pilipinas, gayon din po ang Tanod Baybayin. Inyo pong nasaksihan ang high-speed opener pass o ang mabilisang paglipad ng FA-50PH o ang tinaguriang Fighting Eagle. Ito ang pangunahing air asset na ginamit sa pagsasagawa ng combat air operation sa Marawi City laban sa ISIS-inspired terrorists. Naipamalas na ng FA-50PH, Agila ng Pilipinas, ang pagiging most lethal weapon system dahil sa iba't ibang katangian nito na ginagampanan sa pagdepensa at pag-atake sa impapawid ng Philippine Air Force. Ang FA-50PH bilang air asset ay pinangangasiwaan ng ating 5th Fighter Wing, the home of the country's frontline fighters and jet traders. Nangunguna po sa ating parada ang pinagsamang banda ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas. Dumaraan po sa ating harapan ang commander ng tropa, Major General Jonas R. Lumawag, Philippine Navy Marines. Ang unang brigada sa kasuotang gala ay nasa pamumuno ni Brigadier General Alvin T. Flores, Army. Ang unang batalyon ay binubuo ng Corps ng mga kadete ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas na pinangungunahan ni Cadet First Class Edmond D. Logronio. Mula sa prestiyosong Philippine Military Academy, ang mga ginoo at binibining ito ang mamamahala sa iba't ibang sangay ng Sandatahang Lakas. Ikinikintal sa kanilang puso't isipan ng kagitingan, integridad at katapatan. Sila na sa hinaharap ay magiging kaagapay sa pagsusulong ng kapayapaan at kaunlaran ng bansa. Sumusunod ang batalyon ng mga kadete mula sa kilalang Philippine National Police Academy sa pangunguna ni Cadet Second Class Joshua R. Pulido. Hinuhubog ang karakter ng mga kadete ito upang mamuno sa hinarap ng nananaig ang paglilingkod, karangalan at justisya, gayon din bilang makadiyos, responsable at respetadong mga public safety officer. Mangyaring tumayo po ang lahat para sa pagdating ng watawat ng Pilipinas. Mangyayari magsiyo po ng lahat. Ating natutunghayan ng mga sagisag mula sa dalahang lakas, pambansang pulisya at sa tanod baybayin ng Pilipinas. Ang pangalawang brigada sa kanilang kasuotang battle dress attire ay pinamumunuan ni Brigadier General Giovanni Leonardi P. Maano ng Air Force. Sumusunod batalyon ng Special Operations Forces ng Sandatahang Lakas sa pamumunan ni Commander Wayne R.G. Abonete ng Navy. Binubuo ang batalyon ng Scout Rangers Special Forces ng Philippine Army, Naval Special Operations Group ng Philippine Navy at 7th Special Operations Wing ng Philippine Air Force. Sila mga piling individual na ang kasanayan ay sa iba't ibang larangan at nakakaangat, lalo na sa mga espesyal na operasyon. Narito naman ang batalyon na binubuo ng kapulisan at tanang baybayin na pinamumunuan ni Police Lieutenant Colonel Joseph C. Bayan. Ang ating kapulisan na nagkapagpatupad ng batas sa papanatili ng kapayapaan at kaayusan at nagsisiguro sa kaligtasan ng ating mamamayan. Ang tanod baybayin ay nakatuon sa maritime search and rescue, maritime law enforcement, maritime safety, marine environmental protection, at maritime security. Tunghayan natin ang mga sasakyan at gamit pandigma ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas, Pambansang Pulisya ng Pilipinas at Tanod Baybayin ng Pilipinas, gayon din ang mga tauhang kabilang sa mga espesyal na unit, kasama na rin po ang pansuportang unit. Nangunguna ang mga espesyal na unit ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas, dariyan po ang Explosive Ordnance and Disposal Units, kabilang na rin po ang Chemical, Biological, and Radiological Nuclear Teams. Sumusunod naman po ang Kia Light Tactical Vehicle at Troop Carrying Vehicle. Narito rin po ang 11 Metrong Rigid Hull Inflatable Boat ng Naval Special Operations Group ng Philippine Navy. Ginagamit ito sa mga espesyal na operasyon bilang suporta sa maliibang SEAL operation. Ang tinaguriang combat arm of precision ng Armor Assets. Nangunguna ang Commander P1TV na pangunahing disenyo para sa panloob na operasyong pansiguridad ng bansa. Kasabay ang Zebra Armor Fighting Vehicle ng Philippine Army na gumaganap para sa panloob na seguridad. Nariyan din po ang V-300 Armor Personal Carrier ng Philippine Marine Corps, isang uri ng sasakyan na magagamit sa lupa o tubig man. Natutunghayan naman po natin ang artillery assets na binubuo ng mga kanyon ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas. Nangunguna ang 20mm M39 anti-aircraft cannons at iniakma ito bilang ground-based weapons mula sa dating F-5 Freedom Fighters aircraft. Sumusunod ang Atmos 155mm howitzer system na binuo bilang shoot and scoot weapon na agarang magre-responde sa mahirap na kalupaan at kritikal na lugar. Kontrolado ito ng electronic suit na inertial navigation system based gun, laying method at automatic loader. Nasa ating harapan ang 105mm howitzers. Sumusuporta ang mga ito sa mga puwersang nasa gitna ng operasyong militar. Ang gamit pandigmang ito ay nagbibigay ng close fire support. Hindi naman po nakikita ang 8-ton Euro trucks at 1.1/4-ton Sadco. Ang mga sasakyan ito ay ginagamit bilang bahagi ng combat support units. Ngayon din sa panahon ng kagipitan, partikular sa humanitarian assistance and disaster response. Mga espesyal na sasakyang naglalaman naman ng mga gamit pang komunikasyon at sistemang pang-impormasyon na may kakayahan upang maisakatuparan ang ugnayan sa pamamagitan ng radio communication sa iba't ibang frequency bands. Ang mga sasakyan naman po at kagamitan ng ating pambansang pulisya ng Pilipinas at
What you're seeing right now is, of course, the military civic parade. Let's make sense of what is happening. We're going to bring in now historian Manolo Quezon, who still joins us via Zoom. Manolo, tell us about what's happening. What is the importance of this military civic parade and the relevance to the inaugural ceremony that we're witnessing?
Frankly speaking, it's of course to entertain the crowd and to kill time. What happens actually is because of the importance of 12 noon, and because nothing ever runs on time, you have to, in a sense, have a very dynamic program that can be adjusted on the fly. So things like parade can be as long and as short as needed. You can have as many or as few song numbers as required because the actual ceremony itself is only a few minutes long, followed by the inaugural address. So this is really for the benefit of the crowd and for everyone else involved as everyone waits for the countdown. Now, it's important. Just a couple of notes that the chairs that they're sitting on are from the state dining room in the palace. These chairs that the VIPs are sitting on in the main stage are also from the palace. The president-elect is wearing gray trousers, which is a throwback to the old practice before martial law. And actually, the last president to continue this was his father wearing striped trousers. It's the most formal expression of the Batang Tagalog. So he's very conscious of the old tradition that in a sense he's also heir to.
Does that,
Um,
does, we were,
Again, the main event here is really they will have the rereading of the proclamation um, of Marcos as the president-elect, immediately to be followed by his being sworn in.
Earlier, Manolo, we were talking about how reflective the ceremony, the rites will be of the president-elect's personality. From what you're saying, he's really going to be a mix of harkening back to tradition, um, paying tribute to his father, but also making it his own. Um, what do you know of him from what you've been seeing prior to the campaign, during the campaign season, um, and even post elections? What assessment or what conclusion can you make as to what kind of presidency he will be having, or the way he will be governing?
The general consensus from people, if you talk to them, is that personally, people consider him a rather nice person. He's famously very loyal and kind to his friends. He's not, I think, particularly well known for his conversation or small talk. Also, he is not perhaps noted for the characteristics that made his father famous, but he has mastered the correct gestures and in many ways the correct appreciation of projecting himself in a manner that is considered presidential and in keeping with his own family traditions. Now, what of course will set this administration, the second administration, Marcos administration apart, is the role that the first lady. This is our first lady in what 20 years. So we're not even used to having a first lady anymore, and we have a first lady again who will be the first in many ways um, professional first lady again since Mrs. Estrada. Now, the important thing, of course, is that the president-elect himself has been very vocal about attributing to his wife the fact that she, in many ways, backstops him in the selection of staff, in running things, and in his advice. Among the political class, she is, of course, considered to be a very fierce person in the sense that she is able to keep even other members of the family at arm's length.
Manolo,
So
sorry to
that's
cut you there,
a
but
very interesting dynamic.
yeah, Manolo, sorry to cut you there, but we just have to take a moment now and really talk to talk about what we're seeing right now. You have President-elect Bongbong Marcos Jr. together with the rest of those attending the inaugural rites, really paying tribute to the frontliners. It's easy to forget. Once you see all these pictures, it's easy to forget that we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And we're now.
It's easy for us to forget that the pandemic has a significant effect on the attitudes of people in this election, making them unwilling to experiment and looking for continuity. If you look at many of the surveys that took place. So yes, this is remarkable. Even the very fact that they had to settle for this venue was dictated by the pandemic because the traditional venue was used for pandemic purposes, meaning the Cleveland Grandstand.
Let's go to Ash now. Ash Presto, sociologist that we have on board. Ash, with the imagery that you're seeing right now, and given the fact that we are still reeling from the very divisive May 9 elections, do you think it would be easy now to at least get into that honeymoon period that Ron was talking about for the president-elect and soon-to-be president, Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., Ash?
It's actually very difficult to say that we are approaching a honeymoon period, especially because Bongbong Marcos is yet to appoint Secretary for the Department of Health. And he should have done so in the past couple of weeks, but he will still do so after this inauguration, which is very alarming, especially for healthcare professionals, already warning about the fact that we now have, again, rising cases of COVID-19 and with monkeypox around the corner. I don't think there is a honeymoon period just yet, or I don't think we will see a honeymoon period unless Bongbong Marcos, of course, appoint a health secretary that is trusted not just by the Filipino people, but her colleagues or his colleagues or their colleagues.
Manolo, I'm just going back to the discussion about imagery and the way Ferdinand Marcos Jr. projects himself. He may not be a great orator, as you mentioned, like his father, but sometimes you just can't help but see the image of his father when he delivers his speeches and even when he talks to the public after. In certain instances,
The sort of framing of Marcos is very interesting.
Right.
Because it's a framing for the modern era where instead of the old days where Marcos would hold an audience enthralled for hours on end, he is a soundbite. He was a soundbite candidate, meaning President-elect Marcos now. And I think he will be a soundbite president. One of his best messages was the one he gave right after being proclaimed, which was just a few sentences, but I think very well written. The one he said where if a president succeeds, the nation succeeds. I thought that struck all the right tones. Now, in his case, it's one where there is enough of the father in the voice, in the way he says words to please the nostalgia crowd. And at the same time, it is also a marked contrast from the outgoing president. So after 6 years of someone who was very rough around the edges and very spontaneous, this is a much more controlled, much more formal, much more polished individual being projected, and one who is always seen to be in command and in charge. The framing has been very, very careful that way. So I think you're going to see that emphasis. At the same time, he is not very accessible. So the opportunities to question him and to interact with him will be extremely limited and extremely well managed as much as they can manage it. It also, I think, is a sign, as we were saying earlier, of the behind-the-scenes influence that the new First Lady will have in terms of the way things are run. You will also see, of course, in terms of the way things are done, you notice the way the staging was done. The part where they are sitting actually is above the part where the presidents who had been inaugurated there used to take their oaths, but it has been built over. So in a sense, again, it's symbolically placing themselves on a new sort of level compared to the past.
Manolo, we were told that he's not going to use a prompter for his inaugural speech. You think that'll have a better effect?
I don't, in truth, I don't think the public can really tell most of the time. Um, at the very least, it may be a way of telling you that they have studied the matter and they will go for brevity. And that will keep a lot more people guessing and wondering, going to the next time that he can use a teleprompter, if this is going to be the case, which is the SONA. But let's see. Most people, I've had students, for example, who wouldn't have been able to tell the difference anyway in this sort of situation.
Ash, Manolo mentioned that the messaging and the way President-elect Ferdinand Marcos delivers his speeches, his talks, the way he interacts with media, well managed, well controlled, crafted well. Let's talk about the vlogs of the president-elect that he has been posting even before his candidacy. Tell us your thoughts about that, Ash.
Well, first and foremost, the vlogs make Marcos Jr., President Marcos, very well known, very relatable. So we see that he has focused on influencer-like campaigning, especially on TikTok and YouTube, which made him seem even closer to the people, despite the fact that, of course, there are views that he is inaccessible. Well, not to his supporters, that is, because they can always look into his YouTube channel, TikTok, to learn more about him and to learn more
Okay.
not just about him, but about his family.
Okay, may mga paparating na sasakyan, no? Well, actually, nandyan sila sa itong kalye sa harap ng Malacanang. JP Laurel Avenue. Slowly making their way papunta sa papunta dun sa main area, no? I think gate 3 or gate 4 ng Malacanang, no? So again, inaasahan natin kasi syempre for obvious reasons, no? For obvious security reasons, hindi talaga sinasabi na nakaalis na si ganito sa lugar na ito, etc.
Pero mamang, ito na nga, dito na nga nakasakay si President-elect Marcos. Otherwise, hindi pa papasukin ito ng PhD. No?
Bawal
So may
pumasok.
timbre na.
Oo. Kasi 10:26 na kung tutusin, base sa original na schedule, 10:30 dapat paalis na siya ng Malacanang. No? So medyo running
Delayed
late
konti.
itong bahaging ito ng kanilang ceremony. So the main car in the convoy ay huminto na sa harapan mismo ng palasyo.
At tingnan natin, ang pagbaba, hindi pa. Wala pa.
Hindi mo
Siguro ilang
mababa.
segundo pa.
Okay. May conference. Ayan na. Ayan na po si incoming President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.
Papasok
At doon na siya, pumasok siya sa main entrance ng Malacanang. No? So we wanna see kung dadaan ba siya doon sa ceremonial staircase. Hindi. Tulad ng sinabi ni Professor Jam, sa gilid siya dumaan.
Ayan, nag-aayos ng kanyang barong at inaasahan ng pagsalubong. Ayan, pagsalubong na ang pasalubong
Incoming at outgoing president.
Ayan.
Sana marunong tayo mag-lip read para makita natin yun. hindi na, wala tayong ganung talent. But yeah, they seem to be cordial. It looks like nakangiti naman si Pangulong Duterte, no?
Kailangan ko yan ng mga official din.
At sa kabila naman ng mga naging pagbatidos ni Pangulong Duterte kay President, then candidate Bongbong Marcos, hindi naman natin narinig si Bongbong Marcos na gumante. No. So he has always had that parang respect, at least.
And in fact, doon siya nanalo eh. The popularity of President Duterte, sinakyan niya yun eh. And that is why, yun ang he's the continuity candidate.
Ito ang anong tanggapan ito ng Pangulo?
No, I think that's,
Malaman niya.
ito yung kwarto kung saan nandiyan na yung guest book, makikita mo nandiyan na sa gilid, ano? So, dyan siya pipirma.
At ang witness mismo, ang kasalukuyang Pangulo ng Bansa, si Pangulong Duterte sa pagpirma ni President-elect
where in the Philippines, the son of the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos is about to be sworn in as the president. Ferdinand "Bong" Marcos Jr. won last month's elections by a landslide. It's been a bit of a stunning comeback for the Marcos dynasty since Ferdinand Marcos was ousted by a popular revolt back in 1986. But later in the day today, Marcos Jr. will be taking oath in a public ceremony at the National Museum in Manila. And hundreds of local and foreign dignitaries will be a part of this ceremony. For the inauguration, more than 15,000 police, soldiers, and Coast Guard personnel have been deployed across the capital. The Philippine economy is already ravaged by COVID-19. Moreover, rising prices are squeezing it further. In a country of about 110 million people, nearly a quarter of them live on less than $2 per day. And Marcos Jr. has made tackling inflation, boosting growth, and ramping up food production his top priority. So these are in fact live visuals from the venue where the swearing-in ceremony will take place. The dignitaries have already assembled, so we expect the swearing-in ceremony, the oath-taking ceremony, to happen in some time. This of course, remember, a crucial point of inflection in the Philippine politics, where Marcos Jr. is all set to take charge of the top office in the Philippines. Meanwhile, the people in the Philippines are counting on their new president to deliver on the pledges of creating jobs and also bringing down consumer inflation. Marcos Jr. has also appointed himself as the Agricultural Secretary to lead the overhaul of the plagued sector. He's also pledged to defend the country's rights to the disputed South China Sea, which Beijing claims as a part of its own territory. However, he's offered scant details on how he intends to go about achieving all the goals that he's promised. A 64-year-old Marcos Jr. succeeds the hugely popular Rodrigo Duterte. Duterte pivoted away from the United States towards China, but Marcos Jr. has indicated that he is likely to pursue a more balanced relationship with the two superpowers. Marcos Jr. said last month that he will adopt a friends to all, enemy to none foreign policy. While he has backed Duterte's drug war, he's not likely to enforce it as aggressively. The swearing-in comes just days after a last-ditch effort by the activists to thwart Marcos. The Supreme Court dismissed the final attempts to have Marcos Jr. disqualified from the election and to prevent him from taking charge of the office. And hundreds of activists are expected to protest against the inauguration ceremony.
Sa makasaysayang araw na ito,
So this of course is the venue where the swearing-in ceremony is expected to take place in some time. The dignitaries are all there. And this is of course a crucial change in the Philippine politics. How will things change from here on is anyone's guess, but the foreign policy is likely to be a lot different. Remember, the predecessor of Marcos Jr., Rodrigo Duterte, was hugely popular in the Philippines. It's someone who had pivoted away from the United States and had been more closely leaning towards China. But Marcos Jr. has indicated that that is going to now change. He said that he will pursue a foreign policy that is more independent, stating that he intends to be a friend for all and an enemy to none. That's going to be a major change. Apart from this, Rodrigo Duterte's hugely notorious war on drugs, which a lot of human rights activists have in fact criticized for being trigger happy in the way it was implemented, is also not likely to be aggressively implemented by Marcos Jr. as he takes charge in Manila today. I earlier spoke with Dave Gronebaum, who's a journalist who joined us live from Manila, and this is what he's had to say.
I'm actually in Quezon City, which is in Metro Manila, and I'm at one of the protest sites, and the protest is underway now.